can easily hide and lock certain parts of your artwork. So let's just go ahead and double click on this layer 1 here, and let's just go ahead and name this head. And I'm going to put the model's face and all of our facial features on this particular layer. Now I'll go ahead and zoom in here. I'm going to be using that keyboard shortcut quite a bit. It's Control Spacebar to zoom in, Control Alt Spacebar to zoom out. So the pen tool's keyboard shortcut is P, and notice here that prior to hitting P, I actually had the selection tool, the black arrow selected. And if I hit Control right now, we're going to hot switch over to that selection tool. This isn't actually my preferred workflow. I like to go ahead and switch over to the direct selection tool first using the keyboard shortcut A. Remember, this tool is used to select and modify individual anchor points or path segments before switching to the pen tool. So we'll go ahead and hit P now, and now when I hold Control, I'm going to go ahead and hot switch over to that direct selection tool, which is going to serve me much better as I'm drawing a fairly complex path around a shape here. So we've got our model's head here, and let's just go ahead and begin drawing a basic shape on this head layer for our model's head. I'll just zoom in nice and close here, and we'll go ahead and let's just start down here at her chin. I'm going to click and drag with the pen tool and draw an anchor point here and pull out the Bezier handles for that anchor point. Now if I don't get that anchor point exactly where I want it, I can, before I release, hold down the space bar, and I can reposition that anchor point wherever I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and set that right there on the corner of her chin, and we're just going to begin working our way up our model's face here. Now, if at any point you actually want to convert the anchor point from a smooth anchor point where you see the handles growing smoothly through it there, if you want to convert that to more of a corner anchor point where the corners are there's a bit more of an edge at the actual anchor point itself, we can actually just go ahead and click and drag and then hold the Alt button while we drag, and we can break one of those handles free, creating that corner anchor point. So again, I'm going to go ahead and continue following up her jawline here. But I'm hoping that you've actually seen that we've got a little bit of a problem. You can see here that we're working with the default color scheme here in Illustrator, and that is to have a white fill with a black stroke around it. Well, if we continue all the way around her face here, it's going to completely hide the face. So this brings up a great opportunity to let you know that I always work in outline mode. Now you can access that by coming up here to the View drop down and choosing Outline right there. Or you can hit Control Y on your keyboard and we'll jump into outline mode. Now notice here over in our layers panel, let me just go ahead and grab that tab, snap it off. We're actually going to be using that quite a bit, and we'll hide that other panel. Notice here that next to that head layer, now the little eyeball, it has a white fill for the pupil instead of a black fill. If I jump back out of outline mode by hitting Control Y, you guys see we go back to the little black filled eyeball. That's a real easy way to tell if the layer you're working on is in outline mode. Now notice here that the template layer is unchanged. Because we have that set to template, we're leaving the image alone. It's locked. We're not going to have any problems with that. If that was not a template layer, then we probably would lose the image and just see the outline of the frame around the image, or the path around the image. So in outline mode here, we're going to go ahead and continue drawing up the model's face, dragging out these anchor points. Now we're getting to a point where the face is actually covered by her hair, and we're just going to be using Illustrator's inherent stacking order here to basically hide this shape behind the shape we'll bring in for the hair. So I'm going to come over here and just sort of draw in a path right about there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, there's really nothing we're lining that up with here. But I am going to zoom in a little closer here, and we can see there's a little piece of her ear that's visible. So I'm going to zoom in here, and we're going to come in and just catch that little piece of ear. We'll hold Alt to go ahead and convert that to a corner anchor point. And continue on down her face. Just like so. So we'll go ahead and come on down here, draw another anchor point. So essentially what we're doing here is we're just tracing around the shape of our model's head. So coming on down, drop one in right about there. We'll drop one in right about there. And let's go ahead and close this path here by clicking on this original anchor point. Alright, great. So we've got our completely closed path here that's going to be our model's face. Now at this point, if we need to make any changes to that, we can always come in and grab individual paths or anchor points with our direct selection tool and make changes, but I think that's actually going to work pretty good here. Now there's several other opportunities here to utilize the pen tool. Now I'm probably not going to have time to go through all of these with you in this lesson, but what I'd like to do is let's just go ahead and start tracing around sort of her neckline here, since basically the focal point of this illustration is going to be her face here and down here through this open neckline. So let's go ahead and trace around the neckline really quickly here. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. Let me go ahead and hold Alt and click on that new layer button so I can name this layer. Let's call this one, just name this one Neck and Chest. And we'll hit OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and stack this one underneath the head layer just by clicking and dragging on it, so that we basically, any shapes we draw on this neck and chest layer are going to end up underneath that head layer. So I'm going to come in here and let's just zoom in nice and tight, and we'll start up here somewhere, and we'll just go ahead and start drawing this in. Now the beautiful thing about this neckline here, you can see that this one particular line that comes down the side of her shirt here, it basically can be reused when we make the shirt. So I'm going to come in here and we'll look at that here probably in just a little bit, but I'm going to come in and just start bringing in sort of this neckline around her shirt. We'll go ahead and hold down the Alt key, and you can see that we access this Convert Anchor Point tool. Now I can go ahead and break that anchor point or that Bezier handle free and just continue tracing this around. Just like so. Now, I can't stress enough how important practicing with the pen tool is. This is kind of a tough tool to get used to if you're new to Illustrator, but it's really, honestly, one of the most used tools in my own workflow when it comes to drawing right inside of Illustrator. It allows extremely accurate and precise paths to be drawn, and it really, once you get used to using it, it goes really pretty quickly. So, and to be honest, the technique for using this tool is actually pretty much the same in both both Photoshop and in InDesign. So each of these applications have a pen tool, and they are all pretty similar in the way they operate. So we'll come in here and let's go ahead and drop that one in there. And we may just come in here. Not real accurate with some of the placement on these, but that's okay. I can always come in and tweak those in between lessons. Let's just go ahead and bring this on back up. You can kind of see how valuable having the direct selection tool available to you as a keyboard modifier here while we're drawing our path is. We can come in and we can modify these Bezier handles as we draw each anchor point and sort of tweak the path. And then continue drawing the path just by continuing to click and drag. We'll go ahead and bring this on up. Now we're going to get to a point here where we're going to have to sort of make up some of this information here. So I'm going to come in here, and it kind of looks like behind her hair that this goes right about there. And we'll just drag that down just a little bit here. And probably curves a little bit in. And we'll come in and draw in a couple more quick anchor points here. Let's draw one in right about there. Let's draw one in here. And let's go ahead and close this path off. There we go. Now, these anchor points over here, obviously they're a little bit rough, and we may need to come in and reposition some of these. So let me click on that one there. You saw that go crazy. That's because I clicked on the path itself and not the anchor point. Let me click and select that anchor point. I'm going to move that one down just a little bit. So we're going to kind of adjust this to make it seem a little more natural with the other side of her neck. Maybe pull that one in and around. Pulling that up, just kind of massaging that into place there. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Now we've basically created two different shapes here. One for the area of her neck and chest here, and one for her face. And we've got them on two different layers here. You can see that if I select them, this one is green because this layer color is green. And this one is blue because the head layer's color assigned is blue. If you ever want to change that, all you need to do is double click on the layer and come over here to the color option, and it's as easy as just that. Some of the default colors for layers are a little bit tough to see. Sometimes I'll come in and change those up just a little bit. Now at this point, if we jump out of outline mode by hitting Control Y, you can see here that what we're left with is two shapes that have a white fill and a black stroke on them. I'm not really worried about the color just yet, since we're just drawing shapes at this point. All I care about is really the outline of that shape. So there's a few other opportunities here for me to use the pen tool. One maybe being the hair. Now the hair is going to be a little difficult in some of these areas where it gets pretty detailed down here around the tips of the hair. So we're going to have to take some creative liberties and sort of stylize that just a little bit. And maybe also be able to come in here and trace this area for her brassiere with the pen tool. Now, as far as the rest of this image goes, I'm pretty much going to be making up my own information down here from her waist down. So I'm not even really concerned about any of that information as of right now. So what I'll do, in between lessons, I'll go ahead and draw in a couple more of these elements here with the pen tool. But what I'd like to show you in the next lesson, when we pick up where we leave off here, is how we can use the pencil tool here inside of Illustrator to our advantage when we're drawing these base shapes around our model.